I have been looking forward to the conversation you're about to hear for a long time because it's a connection with I almost said old friends. We'll go with longtime friends and legendary figures in the history of Hiawatha Youth Camp. I cannot tell you how many times we will visit with a staff member or a younger member of our board or somebody who has a long history at Hiawatha, and they'll talk about how they memorized the books of the Bible through a song that Miss Pam taught.
Wow.
Or they'll talk about some skit or some play that Mr. Ricky helped with and Miss Pam was leading. And junior week at Hiawatha continues to be legendary. And for, I don't know how many years, 10 plus years, it was led by Pam and Ricky Henderson. And they now connect with us from Tennessee, y'all. How are you?
Hi there. We're
Good.
good. We're
Good.
good.
Long time no see. Man, oh man, we miss you guys. Can you take me back to the first time you ever heard or were invited to this place in the middle of nowhere called Hiawatha?
I can remember it like yesterday. I was on staff at a church in Nashville, um, and I got a call from a lady named Laura, and she asked me to come because a friend of mine was supposed to come speak, and he canceled and gave them my name, and I said, okay. And so I went. I flew there, and Laura picked me up. And I remember Mason and Max and Morgan. Morgan was 5, and Max was just a baby. He was only like 6 months old. So that's how long I can keep up with how long I've been there because I think he was 18 when our last year. So, but I remember that car ride, and I mean, it just felt like home from day one. And I loved it so much. I was there for 1 year by myself, and then I took my sister 1 year, and then I took my niece 1 year. And then I thought, man, I gotta bring my husband
I
up
didn't want any
here.
part of
It's
it.
amazing. And so
I'm like, they're Northerners. I'm scared of them. But then she kept coming home every year talking about it. And I'm like, it sucked me in. And then once I went that first year, there was no turning back.
Do you
and
remember
we
how many years in it was, Ricky, before you did decide to come along with Pam?
It was the 4th year. I mean, she went 3 years without me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
And once I went that first year, and then she actually started speaking 2 weeks instead of just the one. And
and we could only have free time. Like when we changed it to 2 weeks, we only had that free time where we could tour or just relax with the staff over the weekend. And then the following Saturday, we would have to leave and we'd get kicked out of our cabin because the next speaker would come in. And so we thought we would just get a cabin and stay.
Yeah.
And so we loved it. We loved spending our summers up there.
yeah,
Well,
it was the hardest trip coming home because it was sad. We were leaving paradise. It's just
literally,
yeah,
literally,
exactly.
literally, it was 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
It's funny over the years, you'll talk to speakers or musicians who made the trip to the Upper Peninsula and ask them, at what point on that weird journey did you think you were completely lost and wondered if you would ever find the destination because of how remote the location was? Did you guys have that experience, especially, Pam, the first couple times you went up?
Well, the first few times I went, someone would pick me up from the airport. But then when Ricky and I drove, oh yeah, every year it was
I get
crazy.
I get lost going to my neighbor's house. So trying to get up there. When you get to the bridge, after you pass the bridge, oh my, does your GPS work? I mean, because so remote.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and when it's dark up there. So if you miss a turn, who knows where you're at.
And don't forget that there are at least 200 bear after you when it's dark, everything looks like a bear.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Pam, one of
Those-
the things that people talk about, that former campers talk about, former junior campers, is all the stuff that you taught them. And I would love to have you share with our audience where it all came from. I mean, you've got the songs, you've got the Bible lessons, you've got the kind of the memory keys that would be in some sort of a sing-songy, almost a rap at times, and then the skits and all that. I mean, this curriculum doesn't just appear out of nowhere. How did you come up with all of these things that kids and young adults to this day can still rapidly and easily repeat verbatim?
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for telling me that. That's an honor that they would still talk about that and remember some of those things. And of course, it's only through God that was able to happen. But the key thing is, of course, I'm a musician, so I would start off with a musical. If I could find a good biblical musical that taught the word through the songs, then I would just start from there. And then I would adapt, all of the stories, all of the scripture that went along with those songs. And I would pull those out from the Bible. And then if I needed a Bible verse that went along with it, I would just come up with a rhythm or rap myself. And I just spent a lot of time. I love to write, so I wrote the curriculum. But the staff helped me a lot too, because I gave them a lot of responsibility.
We were talking just a couple days ago with Laura Walker. She was laughing and she said she was trying to picture doing junior camp kind of in the Miss Pam mold back when I would have been a youngster on staff. And she said, you guys never would have done those things. You never would have danced the choreographed dance. You certainly would have put on the costumes. You would have been mocking and I said, hey, you're making me out to be a pretty bad person here. She said, but is it true? And I'm like, yeah, we probably would have been a little reluctant to get into it. I'd love to have you talk about how the staff dove in with both feet and became a part of not just the program for your week, but I think they in large part became part of the Henderson family or
Right.
vice versa.
Right. Well, my first impression of the staff was I could not believe how respectful they were. And I was like, how in the world did these kids get to be this way? And it took me a while to, kind of put together how Pastor Billy, I called him Pastor Billy. He wanted me to call him Billy, but I couldn't. But anyway, how Pastor Billy ran things, and just the discipline and the respect that they had. And pretty much, I think they were told to do what I said. And of course, I was used to working with little ones, and I didn't want to be too bossy, but they just, I couldn't believe how they just took it upon themselves to do whatever I asked. And it's really a compliment to the camp too, because I was a stranger and my ways, were very different, I'm sure. But you opened up the stage to me and just let me do that. So that says a lot about you all for, just letting me come. But then, the first couple of years I had it down because I had done those musicals at my church. It was God's Top 10 and I think Jonah. And then after that, I felt like I needed a new program every year. And I'm like, I cannot choreograph all of these songs by myself. And so I just asked the staff to come together in small groups and choose a song. I play the whole musical for them, and then they would choose what they wanted to do, and they would choreograph it. And then we would introduce a song for every service, and then we would just add on to that. And so by the end of the week, they would know all of those songs. But in addition to that, they would know the scriptures that went with them. They would know the storyline. Like if we did Daniel, they would know in detail, that whole story and how it relates to the gospel altogether, not just teaching facts and knowledge, but how does it apply to their lives? And so they would help so much in that way. And then when it came to acting out the stories, I used staff for helping me with costumes and help me get the kids up there and stand. I didn't really give the kids parts to say, but I would just place them so that the kids in the audience could kind of see a visual of what the story was supposed to be about. but the staff was amazing. And I am not a decorator at all, or an artsy kind of person. So I really relied heavily on the staff to help me, get the set ready, and they helped me with the vision there too. I mean, they were amazing. They just jumped in there and they helped. And we did become very close friends with them. And I guess I'm old school because I'm still on Facebook, but that's the social media that I use. But even now, I mean, just a few weeks ago, Drake, sent me a text and he was telling me, some things going on in his life. And then, even today I was watching Ben. They always made fun of the way I said Ben Collins in Thailand, and kind of following what he's been doing there as a missionary and with his wife and children and all the challenges he's had. And it's really been amazing to see the kids. They're not kids anymore. They're out in their own ministries. And it really is amazing because we've kept in touch with a lot of them. A girl named Sarah, it was Katie and Sarah. I follow Katie a lot. She's a nurse and has her own family. But Sarah sent me a picture of what she was doing in Sunday school one day, and had blown up some balloons and wrote the Bible verses on each word on a balloon. And she said, Miss Pam, I just wanted you to know that I learned this from you and I'm teaching it to my kids today. So that's
so cool.
That is.
Well, so what you hope to do, of course, when you're teaching the young ones, is to plant the seeds, and you hope that those seeds will grow as their faith grows, and that they would then follow the Lord into later years, and that maybe they would pass forward or pass along the things that were taught. And you mentioned a moment ago that you're pretty sure that at some point Billy Walker just told the staff, she's the boss this week, you do whatever she says. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what happened, because there was such a deep appreciation for the sincerity that you bring to all of that you did. Why would anybody want to step in the way of that and say, oh, that's not the way we do it here? But to have Billy give you that kind of carte blanche to do whatever you wanted to is pretty cool. I'm curious, and just a few weeks ago on the podcast, we re-aired an interview I did with Billy several years ago, right before he was finished being the director, and a few years before he passed. And we were in his office and just kind of reminiscing, just kind of talking through some things. And that's one of the other episodes of the podcast. But over the years, everybody that's connected to Hiawatha in some point, that's probably 35 years or older, had some sort of a moment alone with the director, with Billy, a special moment that they cherish deeply in their hearts. I certainly do, and my wife does, and most everybody who's been around for a while does. I would love to hear from both of you. What comes to mind when I ask for what is your special Billy Walker moment that still resonates with you?
When we would have the services where he would speak, I guess that was on Thursday night.
Tuesday and Thursday. Yeah.
Then, well, in junior camp, it was just on Thursdays.
Right, that's true.
I never knew that until we started staying in our cabin. But just the altar service, when they would when the counselors would go into the back, and so Pastor Billy and I would sit back there and watch the two counselors speak with the kids, going back and forth, coming out of the sanctuary and staying in line and talking with them about their decisions. But that was one of the most special times, because I would sit right there with Pastor Billy and we could see the lake, and a lot of times we'd see the sunset. And it was just a special moment. I mean, we didn't even have to say anything, of course, just we enjoyed the spirit there, but I enjoyed being under his umbrella of ministry.
Yeah, it's to try to capture one moment is just impossible. Pastor Billy meant so much to Pam and I that when he passed, we drove to Detroit and one day and back because I had to work the next day. I mean, I would have gone, I mean, just the love and appreciation that we had for him because he showed it to us. I mean, Pamela went the first 3 years she went, you know, especially the first year, it's like uncharted territory. She was like, you know, nervous, scared, you know, it's like a new world. And then when she kept coming home year after year telling me about it, I was apprehensive the first year I went. And the first time I sat down and talked to him, it's like I just he was my brother, you know. I just I was so welcomed in his cabin, in his office even, and just he just talked to me like I was just he'd known me all his life, and it was just the warmth there is just you can't put it into words.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way of putting it into words. You're right. Sometimes it's hard to just capture or just describe something that's so deeply meaningful, right? And it still resonates. And all of us, when we start talking about him, can get kind of choked up. The emotions run strong because of the love that we had for him. And it's funny because all of us think that we had the most special relationship with him. And everybody thinks that. It's like a 900-way tie for first place. Everybody kind of feels that way. Uh, Pam, when you think about the world that we're in, that little kids are in today, and you have a young daughter. I think is she 9 or 10? She's got to be somewhere in that range.
Mhm. He'll
Uh,
be 10 month.
yeah, we still do junior camp at Hiawatha. It's still a vitally important part of ministry. Can you kind of speak to how important it still is for little kids to be grounded in and introduced to matters of faith?
It is amazing what is out there. And if you're not around kids, they speak a totally different language now, you know. And if you don't have one, you're like, what are you talking about? Because of um the technology world that they're in, the addiction to their iPads, their games, the just right now, so many things are competing for their attention, and it's scary. And I pray, you know, God, I can't change her heart as a mother. Only God can, because the more I try to push her on the things that I like or are important, the more she's going to resist. But only God can change her heart. And so, in order to do that, I need to make sure, you know, I need to make sure she's in church. I need to make sure she's studying the Word. I need to make sure she's singing those songs, that she's listening to other things that are godly, because you know, Satan's out there, and they're trying to destroy, you know, our young ones, and trying to steal them away, especially through, I think, so much of the media things that are going on.
It's everywhere. And I am glad I don't have small children, but I do have a 3-year-old grandson, and I pray for him every single day that the Lord would protect him from the junk that's around him, because it is indeed everywhere. I'm also flashing back in my friendship with Pam and Ricky
Mhm.
to some evenings at the Walker cabin. And for those of you who are somewhat new to the traditions of Hiawatha, back in the day when we were up in the Upper Peninsula, and it's been far too long since we've had a legitimate shindig, as we like to call them. The speaker and the program would gather each evening after all the kids were in bed and camp had basically closed for the day. That's when we would start our fellowship time down there. And I was flashing back as I was thinking about this conversation to some incredible Ricky stories. I believe we were talking about cows being born in detail that was far more than I needed while holding a small plate of meatballs, you know, at this kind of time. Can you update everybody on the livestock situation on the Henderson family farm? Are we still farmer
But
Ricky?
we're not Farmer Rick anymore. We sold the farm, downsized. Um, and actually it was because of Hiawatha, the reason we sold the farm.
What?
because I was so
Blaming
worried
you.
I was so worried because we bought the cabin to stay up north in the summers. So I was constantly worried about my cows getting out because we're 14 hours away. So if I have a cow get out, um, I'm lost.
Did that ever
So
happen? Did they get out?
I'm sorry.
Did you have one get out while you were up north?
No, I never had one get out.
But we had some.
But what
give
I
birth.
did, I had some that were supposed to give birth that didn't have a very good outcome.
Okay.
So I should have been home when I wasn't home. So I was a make-believe farmer. It was a great idea in my mind, but in reality, I was not a good farmer. So my cows were glad I got rid of them.
The cows were thankful.
Yes, they were very thankful.
Farm went away.
And we named them, so I could never put them in the freezer anyway. Because once you name your
Can't eat them.
animal, you can't eat them. So
I think that we could answer for a lot of young people if I said to them, how different would your life be if you had never met or been under the ministry for a week or more of Pam Henderson? So I'm going to flip the question on both of you. How different do you think life would be if Laura had never called you and you had never heard of this place called Hiawatha?
first of all, I would have never been Mr. Pam.
Right.
So many kids call me Mr. Pam. So I would have never had that title. So
I can't imagine. It was such a part, of our lives. And I cannot even.
it got to be so serious for us going up north that we were scared every year that he wouldn't invite us back.
Really?
Oh, we would have long discussions. What if he doesn't invite us back? Because it would break our hearts because that was our life. We fell in love with it. And it's like, there's going to be a day where he wants to go in a different direction. And he never did. To our credit, to our benefit, he never did. But it was always out there because, he was in charge of the camp. And if he wanted to go a different direction, we would just have to accept that. But it would have, we had a lot of discussions like, is he going to invite us back? Is he going to invite us back? So,
but we meet a lot of people in Michigan. I mean, from Michigan here in Tennessee, and I can pick up that accent in a heartbeat. And I said, I bet you're from the Mitt. And so it's really fun, to talk to them because Michigan is really has become a very special part of our lives. In fact, I was at Walmart last week and I couldn't believe I saw Mackinac Island ice cream. Mackinac Island fudge ice cream. And I bought some and I was like, it's not quite as good as it is up there, but it was wonderful. But I mean, it's just home. It's just home to us. I still have all the shirts. I wear them daily.
Well, it's rare for even speakers who have been at Hiawatha a number of times. It's rare for, on a vacation for somebody from Hiawatha to stop and stay at that speaker's home. This doesn't really happen that way. But you guys have hosted a bunch of Hiawatha people over the years at your place in Tennessee as they've been coming and going. And, we were privileged to have you with us for a New Year's Eve at our house and kind of hanging out a little bit. And I'd like to think that the bonds that are formed during those days at camp we know that they last for a lot of campers. We know that they last for a lot of staff members. A lot of staff members, if they didn't meet their spouse there, they're at least really good friends with people that they served with for a very long time. It's a little less common when it comes to, like a board member and program and that kind of thing. I don't know what it is about the place or about the people or about the Spirit of the Lord and how he brings together through this uniquely holy communion
The community too.
these friendships that last a lifetime. It's such a blessing.
not only for the kids and the staff members, but there were adults that came in the services too. And you would hear them cackling and they were involved in it.
Yeah.
And even Pastor Billy would be up there trying to do the songs, and those memories of him up there trying to sing and some of the words he would get right, some of them he wouldn't, but it was like, he was in there. It's just, even the adults participated.
I'm so glad you said that, Ricky, because it's not uncommon in church world, just in general, the big C church, it's not uncommon for criticisms to come about a program directed towards kids, usually from people who've never attended those programs, right? Oh, it's too loud. Those kids should be in their seats. They should be whatever. And then you'll get somebody who will actually have the guts to just come and attend. And for the most part, they're blown away and they can't get enough of it. And they're stunned that kids are memorizing scripture. They're memorizing the books of the Bible. I don't know, Pam, if you ever looked out in the auditorium and saw somebody that you didn't know and just saw them smiling and thought, yeah, that's what we're doing. You're welcome to come here anytime. Did you ever get a chance to connect with any, maybe the folks from around the community who said, man, we're glad we came tonight and got to see this in person?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we met a lot of people on the Lakers, and got to have some good relationships with them. And we would even come up on fall. We have a fall break in my school district. I'm a teacher. And so in the fall, we would come up for a week and connect with, some of those Lakers that live there or even vacation there. But we connected with several of them.
Yeah. Well, you're somewhat approaching the end of your teaching days, right? You're in a few months, whatever it is.
32 years.
Do you still have the itch to lead a youth camp, a junior week camp sometime, or is that chapter done?
I don't know. I still have a love for kids.
Yeah.
And I'm planning on retiring in December, mainly because I want to be a mom and just be with my family and invest in my family and invest in my child like I have children in the past, because I haven't had the opportunity to just focus on her with the way education has turned and the demands, expectations on teachers. It's just very different these days. So I'm looking forward to that, but also I'm praying about, what God wants me to do, but I have never lost my love for kids, my love for teaching the Bible. I help at church, doing Bible school in the summers. And so I can't say yes or no.
Yeah.
On that one.
Whatever doors the Lord opens up, right? That's kind of how it works. Well, you guys are such a blessing. I'm glad we were able to catch up for a little bit. And I'm sure that as soon as we wrap up the conversation, you'll think of a million things you want to still say. That's how it always happens in these here parts. But I do want to officially extend an invitation for you to visit our new location on the west side of Michigan. Somebody, if it's not me, somebody will give you a guided tour. And it's just so stunning to see how the Lord has provided in ways that we certainly could not have scripted. None of it makes sense, right? From a logistical or logical standpoint, nothing makes sense in the journey that we've taken from the Upper Peninsula with a 3-year stop over near Roscommon and now over in Allegan, where Hiawatha has its permanent new home. But there's no way to tell the story of Hiawatha Youth Camp, the history, without including Pam and Ricky Henderson. And we are so glad that you have been a key part of it. And you have shaped lives and families for generations. And man, what a blessing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been an honor.